I need to make another video about this. Okay, so I'm not going to quote from the Apple rumour mill today because I think of all the potential Apple products that might be coming out in the next few weeks, months, years, or whatever, the iPad mini 7 is the one that demonstrates that most of the people on the Apple rumour mill bandwagon don't know what they're talking about. It's coming next week, it's coming in 2022, it's coming in 2025, it's coming in Q4. It never ever happens. And the weirdest thing about this is that this iPad seems to have a huge fan base. So whenever I make a video on it, or whenever any of my YouTuber friends like Patrick Rambles makes a video on the iPad mini 6, loads of people come flocking in its support. You guys, and probably a lot of you watching this now, probably love this iPad. Yet we haven't seen one since 2021. It's not been updated. It's so old, this thing, relatively speaking. But I think in 2024, we need to see it. I think this is the year, regardless of the rumours, that Apple needs to do something with this. In this video, I'm going to give you a few reasons why that's the case, and equally, I'd like you to get involved. If you're a massive iPad mini fan, please make a big noise in the comments. We need to let Apple know that this cannot die. The first reason is that Apple is never, in my opinion, going to make a foldable phone. At the moment, I'm a Samsung person at the moment. I'm using the Z, and we do say Z in this country, the Z Fold 6, which I'm really enjoying because you can do that and have this massive canvas to do stuff on. It's absolutely fantastic. It does have several problems, including a fairly narrow front display, and yes, you can see and you can feel the crease. For all of those reasons, the bad reasons, Apple will never make a folding version of one of these. The iPhone, I don't think, is ever going to fold. Ever, ever, ever. However, I think Apple knows that that size display is quite tempting for a lot of people. And if we put this up against the iPad mini, they're not that different. The iPad mini's a little bit bigger, and that's one of the reasons I don't think we're ever going to see a foldable iPhone, but equally why I think the iPad mini needs to remain. You see, if we remove this from the Apple lineup, we'd have the biggest iPhone, which is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and then the next biggest display, which is, well, this isn't an 11-inch iPad Pro, but it's the same thing for the iPad Air. You'd go from this to this, nothing in between. At the moment, we have that in between these two products. That looks quite nice, and this bit in the middle, I think, is very tempting for a lot of people. And no, it doesn't fold, but it does fit still into a lot of pockets. I hadn't tested that, but it does work. I mean, these are cargo shorts, which in theory, you'd probably be more likely to put it in there. That is very pocketable. That isn't. So no foldable iPhone on the horizon, I think, means we still need this. The next reason is you guys, and as I alluded to at the start of this video, I didn't even allude to it, I made it a very clear point. You guys love the iPad mini. Not all of you, there'll be some people who, I don't know why you do it, but you'll be watching this video because you hate Apple and you hate everything they do. If that's the case, fine. But most people watching this video are watching it because you have some kind of interest in this. Either you're thinking about buying it, or you've had one for a long time and you love it to death, or you've bought it recently and you've realized that you've been missing out. So you're going down this kind of journey of learning more about the iPad mini. Whatever those reasons are that you're watching this video, it has a big fan base, and that fan base needs to be served. Now there's one massive caveat here which I've talked about previously, and I have to mention it again because it's completely unavoidable, and that is the fact that the same thing was true with the iPhone 13 mini. Now this remains my favourite iPhone Apple has ever made. The one-handed ability of it, the camera system, which is still fantastic, everything about this phone, the design, the whole shebang basically, it's just perfect. Yet Apple has killed it off. It's gone. You cannot buy, well, you can buy them second hand, but you can't buy them new. And there doesn't seem to be any indication that we're going to get an iPhone 16 mini or an iPhone 17 mini. This form factor has gone. But we do have to bear in mind that no matter how big an audience and a fan base appears to be for an Apple product on YouTube, the numbers for Tim Cook may not stack up. I hope that's not the case, but equally, it's still a massive reason for Apple to make another one of these because you guys love it. The next reason that Apple needs to make the iPad mini 7 is massively selfish, but I don't care. And it's because I use this all the time. Every single day this gets use in this business. It's in these videos actually all the time. And normally it's not here, but it's always just out of shot there. And the reason for that is because I have it on this very nice little Moft stand. I'll put a link to this in the description. Not sponsored, by the way, but it's very handy because you can cover up your iPad mini like that and then fold it out and have it like a stand. It's really useful, but it sits on that stand just out of view with my bullet points on it for the video. So I sit here waffling on about whatever and read from the iPad mini. And it's just, I mean, okay, I could do that with any tablet. I could do it with my iPad Pro. I could do it with the OnePlus Pad 2, but there's just something about the convenience of the size of this thing that makes it so tempting to use every day. I also use it for referencing things. If I'm doing stuff in the studio, I need to check something on the web, then if I don't want to keep jumping between windows and stuff on my MacBook, I just pick this up and very quickly find what I need. I use it for note taking. I sit there and take notes occasionally. There's a problem with that, which I'll come on to in a moment, but it's just, of all the iPads that go through this studio, this is the one that has remained in use for the most amount of time. Next up is the fact that SmartScript is coming. So I've recently installed iPadOS 18 on my iPad Pro, and it's the public beta version, obviously. And I've been absolutely loving SmartScript, which, if you weren't aware, the iPad learns how you handwrite. So as you go, basically, it learns how you do your handwriting, and in real time, it just makes it look better. So it straightens letters, it just makes them more legible. It doesn't completely change your handwriting. If you look at it, it still looks like your handwriting, but it just looks neater. And I can't normally read my own handwriting, it's horrendous. Which is why, when I mentioned the fact that I use the iPad mini for handwriting notes, the caveat is the fact that I don't enjoy doing it, and that's purely because my handwriting is horrendous. It's got nothing to do with the writing experience on the iPad. It's just my handwriting. The fact that SmartScript is coming to iPadOS 18, I think, is absolutely perfect for this little tablet. And while I'm talking about taking notes on your iPad, just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is Paperlike. Now, Paperlike is on this iPad mini at the moment. You can barely see it because, well, firstly, it doesn't dull the colours, it looks fantastic still, and it protects the screen. It's there to protect the screen and make the screen feel like paper. Hence the name. I can't get that across on this video, it's absolutely impossible, but you might hear that. Tractors driving past, ignore that. There's a tractor shop just down the road, I'm not joking. So you can probably hear that, hopefully. It sounds like paper, it feels like paper, and it just makes the process of taking notes on your iPad mini so satisfying. Every iPad in this studio, and yes, there are quite a few, has a paper-like screen protector on it, and if you're worried about applying them, don't worry, because if I can do it, you can do it. It's an absolute no-brainer for any iPad that I buy, and if you're going back to school, Paperlike has you covered. You can pick up the Note Taker collection, which includes a screen protector. There's 2 of them inside, just in case you're wondering. Pencil grips, a cleaning kit, and a free copy of $1 Million Habits digital notebook. To find out more about Paperlike, go and click that link. The next reason that the iPad mini 7 needs to arrive this year is because the current iPad lineup is a bit confusing, and without it, it would be even more confusing. So the current lineup is iPad mini 6, the old one, this one here, iPad, which used to be the 10th generation iPad, iPad Air, 11-inch and 13-inch, and then iPad Pro, 11-inch and 13-inch. Now, there's lots of different crossovers between all of those iPads, apart from the iPad mini. There's no 2 sizes for this. You get one size, and there's no other iPad model that has the same size. So you can't get an iPad Air mini or an iPad Pro mini. You just get this. And this is perfect for anyone who doesn't want a regular sized iPad or a massive iPad in terms of the 13-inch version. If this doesn't exist anymore, where do those people go? That they fall into that buying journey where you've got to try and work out, okay, do I need the regular iPad? Do I need the 11-inch iPad Air? Or do I need the 11-inch iPad Pro? Maybe I need the big one. Okay, I'll get the 13-inch iPad Air. Oh, hang on a minute, what about the 13-inch iPad Pro? It gets very confusing, whereas if they could get the thing they wanted, which is this, everyone's happy. The next reason I think we need an iPad mini 7 will definitely divide this room, and it's the fact that I think this can become a viable laptop replacement for certain users. Now, I know the whole notion of an iPad becoming a laptop isn't something you say. You know, Apple does not want you to think that as soon as you attach a keyboard to a iPad Pro, it becomes a MacBook replacement, because that would cannibalize Mac sales. Totally get that. However, whenever you attach a keyboard with a trackpad to an iPad, it becomes a laptop replacement. Now, I've mentioned this before in previous videos, and some people have agreed with me. I'd love to know how big that number is. Do you think a mini Magic Keyboard would complete the iPad mini? Now, I'm not talking about writing War and Peace on it unless you want to, but the idea of having a proper keyboard attached to this, which you can use for email, for writing blog posts, for replying to people on Slack. Imagine that. Imagine that on the train. Imagine that on your lap at night on the sofa. It seems like the obvious miss with the iPad mini 6, and I think if they added it to the iPad mini 7, it would make that launch even more interesting. So the big question is, are we going to see the iPad mini 7 in 2024? I think we are. I think it's going to happen before the end of the year, and that leaves one big question, another question. What are they going to put in it? You know, what chip is it going to have? Is it going to have a ProMotion display? Will they swap Touch ID for Face ID? Will we get any more accessories like the one that I've just mentioned? There are so many questions. Again, I would love you to get involved in the comments. Tell me what your perfect iPad mini 7 setup and configuration would be. Please get involved. And Tim, if you're watching this, I know you're not, but if you are watching this, please don't kill this. And guys and Tim, if you've still got time, keep watching for a link to another video that I think you'll find very interesting.